Hi, Benchwarmers! I'm here with Emily Heitzleman. Have I said that right?
That's right,
yes! A fellow teammate, although I don't think I can call you a teammate anymore because I'm old and retired. Yeah. But I used to play with you for the last, 2 years?
2 years,
of,
yeah.
the Volleyroo, and we met and we had a beautiful friendship that blossomed. Although, how much of an age difference is there between us? I think you're 21.
I'm 21.
And I don't want to say my age. I'm 32, so it's like an 11-year difference. But yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, why don't you tell us about, your journey on to becoming, or to come onto the national team? What has your journey been?
Yeah, my journey's been a little bit different. I started playing volleyball, I think, when I was 10 in the US. And then when I was 16, I learned about the AVA and moved to Australia with my mom to pursue that pathway, and then went to college in 2022 to start beach volleyball at Tulane. And then in 2023, I came back to Canberra to trial for the Volleyroo and made it and went on my first tour that year.
Yeah. So your mum's Australian, isn't she? And is that one of the reasons you came back to Australia as well?
Yeah, I think when the opportunity came up at the AVA, I really wanted to take it to be closer to my mom's side of the family, and I'd always felt like a piece of me was always kind of missing in a way, and really wanting to explore that.
Had you been to Australia before that?
Yeah, we usually visited every 2 years, about for a few weeks to visit my mom's family, but never really stayed much longer than that.
Yeah. So your mum's from New South Wales or
Yes.
Sydney West?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And you started playing volleyball when you're 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I feel like starting volleyball in Australia, I think they usually start in high school. So
Yeah.
how did you find that? Were you in a club, or was that through school, or?
I first started playing, I think, in year 5 for a club. Actually, funny story, my sister, I think she'd done middle school volleyball with her friends for her team in year 7, and then went to club tryouts, and they were like 2 or 3 hours, and I was 10, and I was like, I don't want to be here. And so my mom bought me a pair of knee pads and was like, you can go try out, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
Mm-hmm.
Are you better than your sister then, or?
I'd say now, yes.
Yeah.
She's got more of the brains, I guess, but
okay.
more of the brawn.
You're pretty smart though.
Yeah, I'll give myself that, but comparatively, she's in medical school right now, also getting her PhD.
And I know aren't your parents doctors and stuff as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a smart family.
It's a smart family, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So obviously that was your introduction into volleyball. Were you playing a sport previous to that, or?
I'd always kind of done a couple of sports growing up. I think I started with soccer, did some horseback riding, did some basketball, some swimming, but nothing really ever stuck. Nothing was that one thing. And then I tried volleyball and I was like, I really like this.
You loved it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you, obviously you've gone through the college system and then you also went through AVA. How long were you in AVA for? Like a year?
A year.
Yeah. How did you find the difference between AVA and the college volleyball program?
Yeah, I think that the training load was very similar, which was a great introduction. I guess when I got to college, I wasn't overwhelmed by training 20 hours a week. So that was something that I found really helpful, and being in that high performance environment was helpful, where I had to also balance school since I was finishing my year 12 at the same time as being in AVA. So I thought that was just really helpful, trying to find that balance between school and volleyball and playing at a high level.
Yeah, because I think when I was going through the college system, and I think at like my age group, they really struggled in getting injured very early on because they're not used to the amount of training that college would do. Because obviously, how often would you train a week in the college system?
We train typically 20 hours a week when we're in season.
Yeah, it's like every day and
Every
then
day
like a
for
game.
like 3 hours a day, and then lots of games on the weekend.
Yeah, and then you've also got strength and conditioning in there as well. So yeah, which not typically in a high school in Australia that you would be getting that amount of load generally. And so I think that, you know, AVA was was that only just brought in your age, AVA?
I think maybe the year before, and then it was Koei, I know, for a bit before that, but...
Yeah, and then, you know, just having that there was really good for people that were wanting to go over to college, because I know I was only lucky enough to have a coach that knew how to get over there, like that networked and whatnot, and knew people over in America to help me get over to America, but I know a lot of girls probably don't have that, and so AVA obviously helps a lot of them, so it's really good. How, obviously you have high loads of training over in college, and then you predominantly play beach over in college as well, and then you play indoor with us in the Volleyroos. What are the biggest kind of differences, I guess, between beach and indoor for you?
I think beach is very reliant on tactics, and strategy can almost make or break your game in a way, and how you apply what you're seeing on the other side really dictates how you're doing compared to your opponent in the game. And I feel like indoor has the same sort of strategical need, but then at the same time other tactics are used, such as power can be one. It doesn't always need to be the most place, but you can really beat another team with the speed of your hit.
Yeah, you definitely need more power in indoor because there's 6 on the court compared to that too. Do you find any other elements of the game? Obviously, you know, there's small different rules and stuff, but even with blocking, do you find blocking is different in indoor compared to beach? I just wonder, because you're more one-on-one with the hitter, but you're still kind of blocking cross or line, yeah?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to more play with the hitter more in beach, you feel?
I think usually when I'm at the net blocking for beach, I'm trying to play with the hitter and make them think different things. Like I'll fake pull off the net, but then come back and try to bait them into hitting into my block and other things like that. So
maybe you should try that in indoor.
Maybe I should. Maybe they would fall for that.
Maybe they would. It's a false sense of security that you're just off the net and then bam. Yeah.
Bam, block.
Because also there's usually 2 blockers in indoor, and you kind of set the block, but you can't really... You can press cross, but then there's always that middle blocker there to help, so it's a bit different, I guess, isn't it? But yeah. How do you find, like, load in beach compared to indoor? Do you find one is more load on your body than the other, or?
I think beach definitely requires more stamina. There's long plays, you're out in the sand, burning and jumping and having to cover a lot of courts since it's only 2 people. But then from like a body standpoint, I think indoors a different type of load. When you're jumping a lot on the hard surface, that definitely takes a toll on your body.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find the weather obviously comes into play like that? Have you had much hot kind of weather with being in America?
Yeah, where my college was located in New Orleans, it was really humid at certain months.
Yeah. And
that definitely played a role, but then also it got quite cold as well, so we had lots of bundles, and that was definitely a different kind of way. It takes extra to warm up your body, and get it prepared to be able to play a training or a match.
Because beach volleyball, in the way, if you compare it to indoor in the States, they play like maybe a game or two a week, whereas beach, you're more playing a tournament. Is that right? Is that your games?
Typically, we play 2 games a day on, like 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday, per se. So about 4 or 5 games a weekend for about 9 or 10 weekends.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a fair bit of weekends in a row that you're playing those amount of games. Yeah. How do you what's your best way of managing like those niggles or those like recovering after a tournament? Like what do you tend to do?
I would typically do some boots or some ice baths. I'd do some stretching, use the foam rollers and the recovery items at my college, but then also we got cherry juice.
Okay.
And I really liked having that after a tournament day.
Oh, really? You just like drinking some cherry juice?
Yeah.
And do you feel that just replenishes you? Or is it just like more of a ritual for you?
It's good for recovery and I
Okay.
think like anti-inflammatory and like helping you sleep at night, so I find it helpful. I don't know if it's much of a placebo at this point, but
no,
I
but
do
it
like a
helps you.
nice little
Okay.
cherry juice.
Yeah, not M juice.
No, not Emily juice, no.
No, not Emily juice. Okay, and then how would you prep for a game?
I think I would go over my strategy individually and like the team's strategy before the game, so I have that in my head, kind of not having to think about it as much during the game, but already have that set of what I want to do and how to execute it.
Yeah, and just things to work on, and so that you're pretty well versed on what you need to do, kind of thing. Yeah. And so you don't listen to music, you don't do any funny rituals?
No, I don't really listen to music other than whatever the team has on, but I do try to make sure that my hair looks good.
Yeah,
very superstitious.
Yes, you are, yeah. You've had some good hairstyles, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, do you bust out some of the dance moves when the music's on?
Yeah. I will do that.
Yeah, it hypes the team up, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's important to hype the team up through dance.
Yeah. Do you have a specific dance move that you do?
Not
Maybe
really, whatever feels right.
Does it relate to your nickname at all, or is that not really?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'll do a couple of these.
Yeah.
I'll do some shimmies.
Yeah.
You know, all the good.
All the good dance moves.
All the good dance moves.
Yeah. I think we definitely, back in the day would get really hyped up in the locker room with some of the, I think I remember Hey Baby being like the ongoing song that we were just blasting in the locker room, and then we'd just kind of like jump around the circle and just be like, just yelling it at the top of our lungs. Yeah. And the funny thing about these tournaments in Asia is, for some weird reason, they get us to do performances at the start of the opening ceremony, and Emily's always putting her hand up for that. So it was great. And what did you sing this year?
This year, Breaking Free.
Breaking Free,
from High School Musical.
Yeah, but you didn't do the worm. Everybody else did the worm.
No, I learned that I'm not very good at the worm.
Yeah.
So best leave it to the other people to do it.
Is it more like a floppy fish or something?
Yeah, it's more of a fish out of water kind of flopping it. I thought it was best to save myself the embarrassment.
Fair. Well, going back to obviously your Gator, and we call you Gator. Can you tell us how that nickname came about?
Yeah, on my first tour, we were flying to Indonesia, and we were playing an animal guessing game on the plane to pass the time. And one of the girls was trying to describe her animal to us and was saying it had 4 legs and was underwater. And I was like, I know what it is, a gator. And they were laughing, and I was like, no, like, I can't even remember what the animal actually was, but I couldn't fathom that it wasn't a gator, because how?
Yeah.
And then somehow lots of animals that had similar descriptions kept being brought up, and I'd be like, gator, gator, and they'd be like, no.
You just
and all of a sudden
guessing gator for everything.
Yeah, I did guess gator a lot, and it was never a gator.
I think that makes you more American, because we don't have really any alligators in Australia, that's for sure. So I think it's like the perfect nickname for you, because you are fairly American as well. So
it's perfect.
It's just perfect for you. Like, speaking of which, do you find, because I know we think you sound very American, but your teammates back in America think you sound Australian.
Yeah, especially when I first get back after these breaks. They think I sound like my accent's very thick.
Does your mum have an accent?
She does, but it's very faint, I guess.
Like an Aussie accent?
Yeah, she has an Aussie accent, but it's like not very...
It's not bogan.
Yeah. I think it's been too long since she's lived in Australia, but every once in a while at the supermarket, she'll get the attention of the cashier, and the cashier will be like, where are you from?
Yeah.
So some people pick up on it, but not
cashier
not as much.
in America.
In America,
will
yeah.
pick up on it. I think when I was going through college and I was in my last year, my best mate, who's Australian, he came over, and the fact that they were asking him where he was from and not me made me... I was like, I probably put on a bit of an accent. But I think, like, Australians are very good mimics. Like, I think we can pick up people's accents. Also, I just found it very hard to, like, they couldn't understand me, so I would find myself trying to speak a lot clearer and in their accent to just make it go by easier. Yeah. So, oh gosh. Going through all this, obviously you've had a lot of experience, although you're only 22, right?
21.
21, oh my gosh, you're only 21. And you've done a whole 4 years at college now, and you've played for the national team. Have you had any really, like, big injuries that have kind of hindered your play?
Yeah, I think last year in 2024, in the start of my beach season, I discovered I had a stress fracture in my tibia, which was a big setback, I guess, for me, and a big injury that took a few months to recover from and get back to full play. And then later that year in May, during trials for the Volleyroo, I did my hemi, which was also another setback, a few weeks of intense rehab and everything to get back to where I was.
Was that a tear or a strain of your hamstring?
It was a strain.
Yeah, it was just strain,
Yeah.
How did you find the process of getting back to play? How was that for you? I guess mentally, being out of playing, how'd that impact you?
Yeah, I think it was really difficult from a mental standpoint. Just one day being fine and playing the sport that I loved, and then the next day not being able to physically play that sport and having to deal and manage the fact that it would be a while before I could return to playing, and even then more time before I could return to how I was playing before the injury.
Yeah. And how did, like, the American system, how did that rehabilitation process go? Did you have a physio?
Yeah, I had a physical therapist that I worked with in a clinic that was on campus, and that was really helpful for me in my rehabilitation process. I guess strengthening the nearby muscles without putting load on my bone during the bone injury, so that I could be back to playing when I was able to.
And how did that return to sport look like for you? Because you couldn't jump for a little bit there, I believe, but you still played a little bit?
Yeah, I think I took about, I could be wrong, but like a month of like off and just working through with the physical therapist, and then gradually returning to some lower movement drills in practice, and then getting to the point where I couldn't jump, but I was able to do everything else at practice.
Yeah. So you kind of hit and served, and even like just could you run a little bit as well, or just no jumping whatsoever?
Mhm.
And how did you? Well, honestly, that would probably help your tactical game a little bit, I think, because you just have to be a bit more smarter with where you're hitting, because you're not obviously jumping up and getting that power.
Yeah.
Did you find that helped you a little bit in that way?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think before that, I had relied more of my hitting game, and after having to find new ways to score and being challenged in that way, it opened up my comfort in shooting a little bit more and gaining some new spots on the court and unlocking those.
Do you prefer doing some of the smart plays now?
Yeah, I think now sometimes I do. The big hits look cool, but the smart hits also.
You've done a few smart ones in this tournament, for sure. I think you've done a few just tips behind the block, and they've really struggled. So I think it's definitely come out a bit more since last year. So that's great. How did you find your coach helped you, I guess, along the way with that rehabilitation process of getting back into sport?
Yeah, I think in the beginning when I first found out, it was a bit difficult for the both of us being so close to season that it took a while to really process what it meant. And at first having the idea that I'd only miss a few tournaments, and then that kind of turning into longer than I had expected and resulting in a red shirt. But I think at the end of the day, he was really supportive, I guess, in what I needed as a person, I guess, going through the injury as well as being an athlete. So
yeah, I think you've been fairly lucky with the coaches that you've had, because obviously it sounds like your Tulane coach was quite supportive and how he helped you with that. I know a lot of other girls have not had the same experiences with some coaches over in America, where they might be a bit more, they think of you more as a commodity rather than a person, and you wanting to get back to obviously you want to play, but in order to get you back to full health, you need to have rest and progress yourself accordingly. And also we have amazing coach with the national team, Mr. Russ, who he's the sweetest man ever. And so I think you've been very lucky with your coaches. I'm really hoping, where are you going next?
To Hawaii.
You're going to Hawaii. And you said you had a new coach now. So I'm kind of hoping you almost have a bad coach just so you experience it. But I know that you would have great adversity through that, but I obviously hope you have a great experience with that coach. But almost like, it's just like everyone has to experience one bad coach in their life, but I think you've been very lucky in that regard. What makes a good physio from an athlete point of view, do you think?
I think a physio who kind of understands what an athlete's going through. I think something that I really learned a bit through my physical therapist when I was going through an injury just over a year ago was he really tried to put an emphasis on making going to physical therapy enjoying and like a good part of your day and wanting to go. And I think that was super helpful when I was going through a tough time mentally, that I was excited to go to physical therapy each day and do something that can kind of seem grueling at times.
Were you going every day?
I was going about 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So most days it was a bit difficult, I guess, because in the morning we would do lift and then go to practice, and I'd come back, have lunch, and then do physical therapy before class. So it was a very packed day and sometimes very tiring. So
because you talked about, you were building the muscles around that bone area. Were you doing anything else? Was the physio doing anything else for you in the way of like manual therapy or like? Obviously not not so much because it was your bone.
Yeah.
But...
Not as much. It was more about exercises to strengthen my leg and
Yep.
yeah.
Did you do anything water-based by any chance? Like no pool work or anything?
No, I didn't.
Is there a pool? Was there a pool at Tulane?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a pool.
Okay. And was that PT clinic with the school, with the uni?
Yeah, it was more with the medicine side of the university, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, all of the athletes had access to it that were dealing with long-term injuries, so that was kind of nice. Actually, 3 other girls on my team also redshirted with injuries that year, so they were also going to PT with me, which made it more fun.
Yep.
So I think that was also, I kind of lucked out, I guess, in that sense of having that community of girls who were going through similar things that I was going through.
Okay. Did you also have athletic trainers?
Yeah, we had an athletic trainer as well.
What's the difference, do you think, between a physio and an athletic trainer?
I think they relatively do the same things. I guess the athletic trainers are more of...
I feel like they're more like helping you with niggles and aches and pains, not so much an actual injury. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. I think as well. I think they did help a little bit with actual injuries, but we had one athletic trainer for about 20 girls, so
okay, it
was kind of a lot when you're dealing with like the niggles and small things, but then also dealing with, we had at that time 3 girls who had gone through major surgeries.
Yep.
So, and then also me, so it was kind of a lot on their plate, which was kind of nice how we had physical therapists who specialized more in helping rehabilitate and help girls return to sport.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Interesting question for you now. If you weren't a volleyball player, if you didn't touch volleyball, what else do you think you'd be doing right now?
I think probably table tennis.
Table tennis?
I'm a big table tennis.
I was not gonna guess that at all. Did you used to play or?
Recreationally in my house.
So you think you'd be a bit more high performance table tennis player?
Yeah, I used to practice by myself.
Oh, really? You really liked it? What made you not want to, like, why did you, just because volleyball kind of encompassed your whole life?
Yeah, table tennis was always a side thing.
I feel like you've got too much hops to be a table tennis. Like, you've got such a big of a jump.
Yeah.
I don't think, I feel like you would have been wasted in table tennis.
Maybe, but it was always fun, and I like playing it whenever there's a table tennis table.
I'd really love to see your skills now.
Yeah. We're going to have to find a table.
We're going to have to find a table. Okay. Lastly, we always do a segment on the sideline called From the Bench, and it's essentially your funniest kind of injuries that you've ever had in your life, and it does not even have to be sport related. So I know that you've got one, and I haven't heard it yet. But what's your funny injury?
When I was 10, at warming up for volleyball practice, we were doing like a dynamic warm up, and we're running backwards and in lines, and they've called my line to go. I'm running backwards. I'm 10, not very coordinated, not very fast. I was like, pretty tall for a 10-year-old, almost the height I am now.
Yeah.
Just lanky, running backwards. The next group is coming. The 10-year-old in front of me is running really fast towards me. I get scared, and I fall over, and I catch myself, and I break my wrist. And
so you break your wrist because you were scared that someone was going to run into you?
Yeah, they didn't actually run into me.
No, you just prepped yourself to not.
Yeah, I tripped over myself and I stacked it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So did you know it was broken straight away, or?
It hurt really bad. I was like, something's not right. But I was just
You went to emergency or no?
I think so, or I went to the doctor like that night, and then I got a cast.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it was pink. And it was like all the way up to here. My
Yeah.
arm was stuck like this for
Yeah.
a couple weeks, and it was not fun.
Oh wow.
I don't
no.
recommend falling backwards.
I don't recommend that either. But from just getting scared of someone in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you any better at running backwards now?
Try to avoid it when I can.
Oh really?
Trauma, yeah.
Trauma from running backwards. Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. Have you had any other, memorable instances throughout your volleyball career?
What do you mean?
Like, what would you take from this whole experience?
I think that the people make the sport so special, and that's one of the big reasons why I enjoy doing this so much, and I think why I've kept with volleyball and picked it up in the first place is that there's really special people, and just going through the good times and the bad times, the big wins and sometimes the tough losses, with people who are kind of like your forever friends is really special.
I definitely think that's why I wanted to come back to be a physio, because I wanted to be a part of the culture, and I feel like we are, a bit of a family with the Volleyroo and whatnot. So I definitely think, it's something that sticks with you, and you and me will be, I hope, mates for a very long time.
Yeah, we will.
I definitely feel that as well. Lastly, I guess, is there anything, if there are any young athletes or young volleyball players out there listening, is there anything you think, any tidbits or anything that you think they should know, I guess, or anything you'd like them to know about what it takes maybe to be a high performance athlete, or maybe how you got injured or anything like that?
Yeah, I think just keep sticking with it through the good times and the bad, and just taking every opportunity you get and trying to make the most of it is the most important thing, and just giving it all you have.
I definitely feel like you're very much a yes person, because it's like moving halfway across the world, even though, you had a bit of family support, that's still a big thing to do, to go to AVA and things. And that's what a lot of Australians are doing to go over to college. That's a big commitment to do. So I think, but just having that attitude of just saying yes and just, just doing it. Just go ahead and do it, What's there to be scared of, I think. And that's what we're learning, I think, at the moment, not to be scared of what we could potentially be amazing for us, So, but yeah, I think that's a really good message for sure. Alrighty, Gator. Thanks for being on the podcast. Really enjoyed having you. It's always a pleasure. But yeah, we'll have to get you back some other time, maybe, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Thanks, Benchwarmers.
Thank you.
Bye.